Welcome back, everyone. It's been a little while, but I hope I'd throw in a little treat here as we wrap up the end of this month, and it's quite a good time to get around with family, as well as maybe show you folks a few tutorials and little stuff that I've picked up here and there. So without further delay, today's tutorial, we're going to be focusing a little bit on Invader. A friend of mine who goes to college at a university, he is making a video game as his final project, and he needs some music. Well, I just so happened to have been working on that, but at the same time I figured I'd kind of show you guys how I make some of those instruments, because as much as I've scrounged around the internet, there's not a whole lot of people develop in the community of this program. They just show you the projects, and alone they don't even show you how it's done. So without further delay, let's jump right in to 1.13, whatever version you want to choose, but I choose 1.13 as always. Before I get too ahead of myself, let me just tell you that Invader is one of the simplest instruments to use on LMMS. I've used it before in many of my songs that you maybe have heard of on SoundCloud. The reason why I picked it for this tutorial is, it's not necessarily a tutorial, I'm getting ahead of myself, as I already said before, but it's more or less just you following along, and I'm going to demonstrate that a little bit more when I put side by side. But if you want to sound less clicky, you add some envelope. If you want to reduce the gain it has, just like any other instrument, you put the amplifier on there, and you can, what else, on wet, you can turn the knob down to a pre-designated volume, and then we'll have a side-by-side comparison to show you different ways on how it sounds similar, as well as importing the rest, and then I'll play you a song at the end. So side-by-side comparison, what we'll be doing, of course, going back and forth. We're going to make kind of similar, kind of change it a little bit, but adds a little bit of variance to the instruments that we're creating with Invader. You can mess around with the wavelength with all you want presets, but mostly it's just drawing. People make it so complicated, but really it's just drawing, and it becomes more complex the more you mess with it. See how different it sounds? That's without the effects. So you add those effects, and it does draw it out, makes it a little bit, smoother if you want to have that less of a bite to it, if you want to call it that. Of course, make a couple channels to separate them. Sorry, I messed up. So once that's done, we can do a side-by-side comparison. We got all the people out here who use different ones for making different music. So you can use the FXXR, you can put a 0.35 for there. We went through that before. And you can do with the Nest line and make instruments as well. So after you've messed around with it a little bit, you're going to get all these different sounds. You can do, you can change the envelope value. Essentially, all these are just basic instruments that you can mix and match with. Now, I can show you later how to make the sound effects and drum samples, but you can rely on samples to that if you really want to, or you can mess around with FXR, or you can mess around with Klein.